to the week, ladies and gentlemen. As we celebrate Black History Month during the month of February, I want to showcase individuals right here from our very own community that have made history. And to do that, I have to sometimes dig back and pull some of the people that have been around here, may have gone away for a while. And today I have such one individual from our community. I have none other than Miss Shirley Cox that will be joining us. Miss Cox, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to sit down with you, Miss Cox. I've known you for a little bit of time here, and we worked together on another project together. I know you and your husband there. You lived there on Colquitt Street, and I know that you and I have another affiliation via the Divine Nine, because you're a member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And you were telling me a moment before we came on, how many years have you been an AKA, Miss Shirley?
65 years.
65 years, my
I
goodness.
became a Pearl this year.
A Pearl this year.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about what that means and talk about the Divine Nine in just a moment. If you don't mind, tell us just a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind.
Well, I'm Shirley Cox. I'm the daughter of Levi Brown Jr., the granddaughter of Levi Brown Sr., and the great-granddaughter of James Edward Brown, who we will be talking about today.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so you go back through the lineage. Let me talking about going back through that lineage like that. How important is that, Ms. Cox?
That's always been important to me. I think our history needs to be revered and talked about and passed on to the generations to come, and I've tried to do that with my own children. So they are interested in things that happened before, and they're interested in knowing where they are from and how they got where they are today.
Absolutely, and that's what Black history is all about, making sure that your children and their children and your great-grandchildren know the history and that lineage. And, so many times, in the African-American community, we're not able to trace back that lineage. You were able to go back 3-4 generations back in your lineage there. And we're talking today, we're going to be talking about a gentleman, your great-grandfather, as you mentioned, that made history right here in LaGrange as well, Mr. James Edward Brown. Talk about him for a minute. Who was he to you, Miss Cox?
He was my great-grandfather, was born here in Troup County. I don't know exactly what area, but he was born in 1863, and he married Amanda Wilkerson, and she was from Texas, Georgia, and I think that's somewhere near Carrollton. I don't know whether it was just a community or what. I think it was just a community called Texas.
Okay.
But they had 16 children.
Wow.
And they were most of them were all raised in the house on Fannin Street. 113 Fannin Street was the family house, and it's still there, and it's still in the family.
Wow.
So
16, did you say 16 children?
Yes.
They believed in fruitful and multiplying, right?
I guess so.
And then we talk about that because we also understand too, a lot of times in the African American, they had big families because they all worked to help maintain the household and various things of that nature. And the home you mentioned on Fannin Street, at 113 Fannin Street, still in the home in the family now, correct?
Right, it's still there.
And I remember some years ago, you had a flower shop there, right?
Yeah, I opened a flower shop after I came back to LaGrange, and for a while I had it on East Depot Street, and then we moved to in the house on Fannin Street, where I stayed probably about 10 years in that house with the flower shop. All
right, and that's the same home that your great-grandfather lived. Now, in talking with you, the history that your great-grandfather made, Mr. Brown, he was the first African-American superintendent of colored schools here in this community, correct?
That's what they called him.
Okay. You referred to him affectionately by another name, though, right?
Yeah, we called him Pa Brown.
Pa Brown, all right. Talk about what that means, being the first, or how did that make you feel knowing that he made history in our community?
Well, he was one of the first graduates of the first school, I guess, that was built here in LaGrange, that was started here in LaGrange. And it was written that it was started by someone named Professor Henry Morton Stanley. He was an Englishman. And with the aid of the Freeman Aid Society, and the Methodist Episcopal Church, they raised money to build a school.
Mm-hmm.
The school was being held in a church, but then they built a school on Hill Street. And it is said that a few weeks after the school was built and completed, it burned down.
Oh, wow.
So then they had to go back into the church. My grandfather, so much into education, he was the first graduate of that school. And he wanted to see education for the Negro people, the people in this community.
Mm-hmm.
So he started trying to raise money to build another school. And that's what he did. It is the school on Hill Street was built in 1875. Okay. And as I said, a few weeks later, the school burnt down and was destroyed.
So they never got an opportunity to occupy it.
Right.
And this was a brand new building.
Right.
So we can only imagine what happened there.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like I said, my grandfather was the first graduate of it was called the Baptist Academy.
Okay.
And he graduated from there at age 17. And he was interested in his race and getting an education. Mm-hmm. So he started trying to collect monies and to build another school. And it was said that the Baptist Western Union Association donated $500 to start a new school. Then people around donated trees, and they built another school on the corner of Union and Hamilton Road.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was called the Baptist Academy.
Okay, wow.
And he was asked to take charge of that school, and the one that was in the church that had burned down, they started using the church for a classroom. And so he was asked to take charge of both of them. So he did that. He took charge of both of the schools and did that for many years. And that's when he was named, he was in charge of both of them. So he was like the principal. And then they named him the superintendent of Negro schools, black schools, colored schools, whatever the name
so
was.
We've been all of those, right?
We've been all those things, right?
Well, goodness. Yeah, education, because you're an educator as well.
Right.
So you see that lineage that he started there passed down to you, correct?
Right.
So how important is education to our young people today, Ms. Cox?
I think it's quite important. Especially if they're going to use it to better themselves and the community. You know, nowadays children get a lot of education and they get that degree and they put it in their back pocket and go ahead and do something different. But then we wanted to be educated and we needed to be educated, and it was very hard to become educated. My grandfather went to Morehouse College. Well, it wasn't Morehouse then. It was started in Augusta in the basement of Springfield Baptist Church. It was called, it was later called Morehouse, but it didn't start off being Morehouse, and that's where he started to school.
Oh, wow.
And graduated from now what we know as Morehouse.
Morehouse,
right.
Right. So a Morehouse, you know, when you graduate from Morehouse today, that's almost like equivalent to Harvard for the African American.
Right.
So being the first superintendent of colored schools in our community, you know, really having the forethought and the drive and tenacity and motivation, because you talked about it was hard to be educated back in those days. Like you talked about the school on Hill Street that burned accidentally or however it happened. There was individuals that didn't want African Americans to be educated.
Right.
And I feel that's why it's so important that now our students know their background and the struggles that your grandfather had to endure to become educated. And even the history about Morehouse College there, that was something, a little known fact right in itself today.
Right. And he went to school there, but the way he paid his tuition was working at the school. And I've heard stories about him trying to get back and forth, that he would try to get a ride on, you know, somebody's buggy or whatever, or walk back and forth trying to get to school. So it showed what determination he had to be educated. And he sort of passed that down to all of us. His children, many of his children graduated from college.
Wow.
He had 2 daughters that were teachers in Arizona. One was a nurse in Arizona. My grandfather was an insurance agent here in LaGrange, and he had one son who was over a packing house here in LaGrange. So that education, the boys, I guess, sort of worked to send the young ladies to school. All of the young ladies, all of his daughters went to college, but all of the guys did not go.
Okay.
So they were working to see that their sisters, went to college.
Awesome. That's
and
awesome.
So we never thought of anything else. We knew that that was the direction we needed to take, high school, college, and then most of us are educators.
And I know that you and your husband have a couple of daughters as well, correct?
I have 3 daughters.
3 daughters.
Yeah.
And what fields are they in?
The 2 older daughters are in education. One has been, well, they're both retired now. They put in 32 years, 33 years in Rochester, New York, and they are retired now. But one was a principal, and the other one was just was a classroom teacher, and she became a coach for other teachers.
Okay.
And then I have my 3rd daughter who's in computer science.
Okay.
So
awesome. So the seed that your great-grandfather planted years ago is still producing today.
Today it still is.
It
yes.
certainly.
And I have grandchildren now who are in college. One will graduate in May, and then another one will graduate next year in May. So it's just been passed down.
Absolutely. And that's what Black history is all about.
Yeah.
Passing down those seeds that were planted years and decades ago that continue to produce, as you said, productive citizens in our society, whether it be here in LaGrange or wherever their paths may take them. I heard Rochester, New York, I heard Texas. So anywhere that they go, education is the key that will take them there. We could go on and on and on about, I'm sure, your great-grandfather, your grandfather, your father, your children. And definitely I want to say thank you, Ms. Cox, for coming on today and sharing this information and being a part of Black History Month. And
it's a pleasure.
Well, it is definitely.
I'm so glad to know that history is being passed on, and always wanted to work with groups that, thought that was important, the history. I worked with the church, First Baptist Church, to get a history of the church written. And so we were successful in doing that. But I just think history should be written down by us, for us, so that we can continue to know where we came from and where we're headed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a fitting closing statement, Ms. Cox.
Yeah.
Very fitting. Ms. Cox, thank you so much for coming on the show and being my guest today.
Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more Seed Week coming up in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, being joined today by someone from our community has been very instrumental in a couple of things, walking trail and a number of other things. But today I'm being joined by Bob Gehring, who's the manager at the Goodwill facility over on Commerce Avenue, to share some wonderful things that they're doing in our community, mainly around taxes. So Bob, talk about what's happening over at you guys' location.
Yeah, so one of the things that Goodwill has been doing for quite a while, for 10 years actually, is to work with the IRS. It's a program that the IRS started years ago, to provide free taxes, free tax preparation for anybody that makes under a certain income. Now it's gone up to $60,000. So anyone who's listening, or who's listening, we'd love to have them come by. We'll do it for free.
Wow.
They don't have to give up a bunch of money. We are a drop-off site here in LaGrange. So meaning we don't have the people that will finalize the tax return. But we will get all the information needed, scan it safely to Columbus, and it will be back in less than 5 days.
Oh, wow.
Of business days. And the folks will be able to come in and send it. And we can send it electronically. There's nothing that needs to be done. So Yeah, so it's exciting. We did it. We started last year thanks to the Troop school system. Our building was not open yet, so we did it at Clearview Elementary.
Okay.
And we got off to a good start, did about 60 folks. We hope to have a much bigger turnout this year. And we've already had quite a few sign up. Now, let me just give the timing for this, okay? Yeah. So we are starting next week.
Next week.
So next week on the 30th, January the 30th.
Okay, January
right?
30th, all right.
Going all the way through till April 18th, which is the end of the tax day.
Okay.
The only tax returns we will do in this time is 2022.
Okay.
If you have previous tax returns that are incomplete that need to be done, we'll be happy to help you with those, but they have to come in May. That starts May 1st. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But so, and what we need you to do, those of you that are interested in this, is go to the Goodwill SR site. Goodwill, that stands for Goodwill Southern Rivers. Okay.
Okay. All right.
And it's goodwillsr.org/VITA, which stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. And there they will lead you to designating the time you'd like to come to the LaGrange Career Center on 319 Commerce, and we will be delighted to see you and help you get through this.
So basically, it's kind of like you making an appointment.
Yeah,
come over,
that's right. You need an appointment because we expect to have quite a few
Great,
people. And
great.
what you need to bring your Social Security card for you and any other, your spouse if you're filing jointly, or other family members that are in part of the file. And the real card, not a copy.
You a copy of it, so you
also an ID that has a picture on it.
Okay.
As well as all of the W-2s and the other forms that you need, and if you have it, a copy of your 2021 return, which makes this easier.
Just got it. Okay.
You can bring all that. We'll get you in and out of there in a half hour easy.
Very good. Bob, this is great information for the public. I'm glad that you all are providing those services. And hopefully, I know the people, if you had 16 last year, it's going to double, triple this year, because definitely I know that starting early. So thank you all for providing this service. And it's free, ladies and gentlemen. It's free. So that's the best thing about it. Bob, thank you so much for sharing that information today.
You're welcome, Alton.
All right. Welcome back, City Week, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, each week I like to bring you all of the city scenes, happenings in and around our great city of LaGrange. And to do that in such an eloquent way, we have from Visit LaGrange, Lynne Holle. Lynne, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. I hope you are.
I am doing great, Lynne. So I know there's a lot of things going on, and I know that you are the lady with the finger on the pulse, right?
I wish. But we have a few of the items that we can talk about for sure.
Well, great. Let's hear all about it.
Sure. Hello and welcome to City Scenes. This week we are going to be talking about the events that will be happening in LaGrange during the week of February 13th through February 19th. So let's get started. Monday, February 13th at 4 p.m. Earthquakes, Mazes, and Robot Turtles STEM Preview. This is hosted by the LaGrange Memorial Library. Preview some of their new STEM activities that will be in the renovated LaGrange Memorial Library Makerspace when the remodel is finished. The LaGrange Memorial Library is located at 525 Park Avenue, LaGrange. Tuesday, February 14th from 6 p.m. until 9:30, Lafayette Society for Performing Arts presents One Night Engagement. Join LSPA for One Night Engagement this Valentine's Day. The Lafayette Theater Company players proudly present an exclusive musical event. The evening will include dinner, drinks, a silent auction, a photo booth, and live performances of Broadway songs. This cabaret-style production will explore the ups and downs of dating, breaking up, making up, and falling in love. This event is the perfect romantic evening for couples or a fun night out for singles. You never know who you might meet. Tickets are $50 each and are considered general admission. One ticket includes 2 drink tickets, dinner, which consists of shrimp cocktail, a charcuterie, salad, lasagna, choice of dessert, which might be tiramisu, chocolate mousse, and macaroons, along with the show. Please visit lsparts.org/tickets to purchase. All proceeds will benefit the Lafayette Theater Company's 2023-2024 musical season. Wednesday, February 15th from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m., the UGA Troup County Extension will present the next series in their 2023 gardening seminars. Interested in learning and sharing your experience about gardening? Please come out for one or more of these fun seminars. This hour-long class is a fun way to improve your gardening skills and meet other garden enthusiasts. Thursday from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m., Cooking with Ken, chicken piccata at Piney Woods Farm. The next Cooking with Ken class is February 16th. Hurry and get your tickets at Eventbrite, Piney Woods Farm. This class always fills up fast. Friday, February 17th at 7 p.m., live from Nutwood Winery, Chase Tibbetts. Making his 2023 debut, Nutwood Winery is glad to have Chase back with them. Chase plays a little bit of everything, a guaranteed crowd pleaser. Come see for yourself. Alton, those are just a few of the events that will be going on during the week of February 13th through the 19th in and around LaGrange. We hope everybody will get out, have fun, stay safe, and have a great Valentine's.
Wow, Lynn, you know what? A lot of things are happening, and I know that people will come out and take full advantage of it. And as always, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing city scenes with us.
Sure, anytime.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining City Week this week. My guests have been from the community, a retired educator. I had on Miss Shirley Cox as she talked about her great-grandfather, Mr. James Edward Brown, who was known as the first African-American superintendent of the colored schools. Ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate Black History Month, by all means, I hope that you will pick up some information about someone in your circle that may have made history and share that, making sure that it is carried out throughout the generations. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed my interview today. And as always, I want to invite you back for more of City Week.